There, folks. Alright, here we are. I put on a weird accent for some reason to start this, but it's not really how I talk. How about you?
That was a very bizarre intro.
Here we are, Foil the Flow Radio, episode 1. Bit of a...
Gonna kick it off. Might as well.
Just a test run. This is a teaser, right? So we'll just look at all the cameras, act really weird, and hopefully...
Stare at each camera.
Hopefully we'll get something juicy to pass on. Why are we doing this? We're going to try to just do it for fun. Is that okay? And maybe some information.
I think it's also, if I may add, that I think we have a unique voice. I think we live in a unique place. And both of us are absolutely... taken over by foiling for our lives. Our
Completely
lives are
ruined.
now...
made my life better.
Yes. So I think that's the number one thing is we're in a unique place. We're in a unique position to try tons of gear.
Yeah.
We can, we're out almost every day.
Yeah, as much as possible for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's probably a thing to do on every day. Not that we get a full session, but we might get something of a session.
Yeah.
Or at least be thinking about that session the entire day, if nothing else.
This is one of the cool things with foiling. You don't need wind all the time. You don't need waves all the time. You just need a foil and some creativity and a little bit of motivation.
It could even be a plank. You can even
People are
mount
doing
the
this
foil
in
to a plank.
ponds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Pump foiling is not really one of our favorite things, but it is a thing, and it can be done. And now there's actually even competitions for that. But
So who the hell are you?
oh,
Let's start there.
well, I was going to introduce you.
Oh, okay.
So this is Jeff Yates, owner of Paka'a Foil, veteran, works on the base, works in fathering and coaching soccer and things like that. Avid ocean person, as far as I know. So I'm describing Jeff as I know him, and we've gotten to know each other over the last 3 years, actually through foiling. Jeff introduced me to foiling and got me going by pulling me behind his little boat a couple times, and then that set me off. But I know this guy to be as a great source for knowledge and experience in. You came from a kiting background. Did you do windsurfing too?
Grew up windsurfing. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, you're gonna fill in where I left off, I guess. But the way that I see Jeff has been an incredible person to encourage me, and now is encouraging others. And that comes from a base of knowledge in the ocean, wind knowledge, surf knowledge, things like that. And then passing that on with passion to other people because he's so enthusiastic about it. It's completely changed my life, and Jeff has been a huge part of that. Those are all the complimentary things. I think I was supposed to roast you a little bit here, but okay. If I was to say one thing, Jeff's he's been so helpful to me, but because he's got such a unique spirit about him, some people just don't understand his sense of humor or his social tactics. Did I say that?
I have a tactic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I don't waste a lot of time with the BS of life. I think.
We don't have time for that.
Yeah, and there's people that get caught up in the drama of things or get caught up in the specifics of things, and I take a step back. I think usually, and just like with foiling, I don't like a brand. I don't like any particular brand. I like what they are doing, what the brand is doing.
Yeah.
I like their social consciousness. I like the capabilities that they're building into their foils, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's, and I like the certain hardware. I like the M8 hardware.
Yeah.
I love M8 hardware, and I cannot believe anybody else is not using M8 hardware for all their primary
So many
components.
options. M6, M7,
Yeah,
M7
yeah.
and 3/8.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
I don't
We'll
think
get
there's
into
that.
that later. But
We
yeah,
will.
that's short intro. We could do a little more. But from what little I know of Seth, he's traveled a lot. I've traveled a lot too, but Seth is like not just traveled, but he's lived in other countries a lot. So I think that also gives a unique perspective because I joke about the first world problems. We have a lot of first world problems, and definitely Kaua'i has a lot of first world problems.
Foiling falls into that as it's a very privileged activity still at this point.
But he's been a scuba instructor. He's been a traveling artist. He's been a traveling musician now, and he's been a foil instructor now for at least a couple of years.
Full-time professional bum.
And like me, I think you came to Kaua'i because you can go in the water every day. One of the main reasons.
Definitely.
And it's a small town. It's really a small town atmosphere here. I love it because it's a small town. There's the negative sides of small town that everybody knows your shit, but overall, the small town of, hey, we pretty much know every single foiler on the island.
Yeah.
At least we've seen them. Don't know their name. It's just the same as surfing, right?
Totally.
Oh yeah, you just got that new board, and yeah, how are you liking those fins though?
Yeah.
What's your name again?
Community oriented. That's where it's at. So we can all kind of help each other out. You know, if there's somebody that's having an issue, people come to the rescue, kind of help you out, whether that's in the water or on land. We'll get to that. That's okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We've got stories. So part of what we're doing here, our mission statement is to share some of our excitement, our passion, bring in guests. Not only bring in guests that you probably all look up to as your foil fathers and sisters and mothers and whatever else, the people that set the foundation for what it is that we're so passionate about, but also bring in some of all of the other viewers and things like that have stories to share from experiences of either trauma or excitement or running into sharks or breaking things or hurting themselves, but also the incredible joy that comes out of it. That session that you had with rainbows that never happens, or that close encounter that you had with a dolphin, or I don't know, who knows. There's all kinds of stories. So we want to invite people to come in and share some foil fodder for the people. So we'll have long form interviews with some really incredible people, and then we'll have some short stories as well from all of you. So we're definitely looking for stories. If you've got stories, send them to us.
Call them in.
Yeah.
We'll do a little Zoom call and talk through some of the stories. I think there so many people have some incredible stuff to share. And I guess we could say why are we even called Foil the Flow? Basically because we couldn't think of another name that rolled off the.
It sounds good.
Foil the Flow Radio. So that's kind of been my hashtag for at least a few years. But I really enjoy that philosophy because. You can't fight the current, right? You can't go against the current. You can't fight the flow of life, right? But you can certainly go with the flow.
It'll be a little exhausting. It might not be sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. Certainly, yes. But you can play with the current. You can play with the wave. You can play with the flow. You can get on a foil and you could ride that flow and have the time of your life.
Yeah.
If you just
tap in.
Yeah, tap into it and adjust your priorities to be that I'm going to have fun on this.
So you started your own shop essentially here on Kaua'i, and when we say shop, it's a small place. I mean, it's basically run out of his home, things like that. Brick and mortar shops here. Essentially, the only way they survive is by selling trinkets and really crappy boogie boards because we're in a very tourist destination.
Maybe with a rooster on it.
Right. So foiling shirts with roosters they might sell to keep you afloat, but instead we're running a business out of Jeff's home, and essentially he's acquiring gear as a distributor for all kinds of brands and all sorts of different genres and techniques, and
we're teaching foiling a few people every several people a month. We are giving lessons mostly on wing foiling. I occasionally give surf foil lessons, but that I think both of our backgrounds come a little bit from the training. I did a lot of military training, which is more yelling at people than actually instructing people sometimes. But I also was a windsurfing instructor in college, nice. So I learned the windsurfing techniques, and wing foiling is so much of the same same techniques as windsurfing. So. Hopefully that translates.
So would you say that with Paka'a foil you do more, you instead of shoving brands and like this is the product you need, you kind of give people more of a philosophy?
Give a philosophy. I give options.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things is I try to break out a hard handle and a soft handle wing. I try to break out a couple of different foils and show them.
And you're like, this is the best one, you should have this one?
Yeah, that's I shoved that down their throat early on. And then they don't ever see him again. So
So we basically were like, here's all these incredible options, and everybody has a different style, body shape, technique, or body of water
Experience,
that they're going to be using
experience
these
level,
things in.
yeah.
So it's all preference, and everything at this point in foiling works. If you're getting into foiling now, it's the best time ever because there's like 3 to 5 years now behind it of it being commercialized, more or less. There's a lot of gear out there.
There's a lot of great gear.
And it works. All of it works.
Gear.
Some
Absolutely
of it's
incredible.
better or different.
No, some of it is absolute crap, though.
Yeah.
There is a lot of absolute crap on Craigslist and on Facebook Marketplace and everything else. So yeah, you gotta ask around. I would ask more than 1 or 2 people though, because there are people that are such diehards for certain brands that I don't really understand it. I mean, I still don't think there's any one brand right now that makes a great foil, a great board, and a great wing.
Everything all packaged together. That's a pretty tough combination.
That's a very tough competition.
Yeah.
And so far, I don't think there's anybody that even makes 2 of the 3 right now.
Yeah.
Like the best foil, the top 5 foil, top 5 board, and top 5 wing.
So this is a great. I'm glad you brought that up. What is the philosophy then? We've talked about it a few
Yeah,
times.
we've
we
talked
kind of
about it
have
a lot.
3 things that we're looking for when we try out a new brand or a new company or a new equipment.
Well, number one is, do they even talk to us?
That's very important. We might be little nobodies on the sideline, but we are in Hawaii.
Little island.
Yeah.
Tiny little island. What is it, 60,000 on Kauai?
I think it's probably about 75 or
Whoa!
something. Yeah,
we got a light.
growing.
We got a light in on this side now. Stoplight.
There's a stoplight on the
Extra
west side.
stoplight on the west side.
Yeah.
Woo! Things are getting crazy in town now. But yeah, so I think our philosophy, number one, is we talked about a lot, is 3 things. We're looking for 3 things for a foil. Number one, great gear, right?
Quality.
Gear that's going to last, gear that's going to be tough, gear that transparency of their gear, of like, hey, this gear can do this. It's not so good at this. You don't find that a lot in companies. Everybody's gear is the greatest thing ever.
Sure.
And yeah, in this competitive environment, yeah, I guess you have to sell it that way, but I like a little bit of transparency of things. We're still working on this.
So many technical variables.
Yeah.
And really, when we're looking through stuff online or wherever we can see it, because we live in a remote location, can't always get our hands on something immediately, especially when it's first coming out or developing. But if we can find images of those connection points and the types of hardware that they use, and maybe the aspect ratios, some of the technical things,
we have a definite.
We like to look for that integrity and quality.
Yeah, at this point, we definitely know what we want in gear, and we know. Oh my God, I think that will work exceptionally well. That will work better than anything else we've done. But yeah, the number one is the gear's got to be great.
Quality gear.
The number 2 is that we actually vibe with the people.
Yeah.
There's
so this comes back down to communication, right?
There's great industry people out there. Usually they're trying to sell you something, but going beyond that of the people that are trying to sell you something, but you want to have a beer with them.
You're a human, I'm a human. Yeah. We're both doing something we enjoy. Can we communicate about this? It's not hard. We're not asking.
Do I want to have a beer with them? Is my kind of thing.
Yeah.
And can I enjoy having a beer with them? Because there's people. Maybe you're just having shotgunning beers just to get through the conversation too. And then what was the third thing? Yeah, we forgot already.
Shoot, we have 3 things. It's not that hard. Communication, quality gear.
Oh, getting it here.
Oh, accessibility.
We kind of talked about that.
Yeah, accessibility.
So we're on a small island. I don't keep much inventory. I keep enough inventory. Very minimal extra new boards. I keep mostly a rental fleet of stuff.
Some of it's kept here in my Mr. Wonder's Wonder Emporium.
We have the extra storage going on here because my garage is bursting at the seams. I don't know, 30 boards at this point.
Probably not an uncommon story. For anybody that's been into foiling for at least a couple of years, guaranteed you have a few too many things at this point.
How many boards do you think?
Personally?
Including surfboards, right? Have you counted it lately? 30?
I mean, there's
40?
There's 3 right here that haven't been used in years. There's
dust. They're dust collectors.
5, 6 surfboards. I don't even surf anymore, but I still got these surfboards.
Yeah, I have a few kiteboards still. Luckily, I don't have any windsurf boards. But yeah, back to the where were we at? How easy is it to get gear? So I'm looking for people that could ship us. as cheaply as possible out to this island. So we like working with the Maui shops. There's still a fair number of Maui shops. Unfortunately, some of them are recently closing, but they get a container of gear still. There's a few shops that get container of gear. I think anybody that's just one, it kind of goes into with the people that are that we vibe with.
Yeah.
They have thought of other ways other than UPS to ship a board out here.
Yeah. We are in a very isolated spot. We're on the island of Kaua'i, and we're that much more remote even from the Hawaiian Islands, as we're the most northwest.
The one island
for the most part.
One island that was never conquered, right?
Yeah.
Kamehameha conquered all the islands after 3 failed attempts by Kamehameha to conquer Kauai. He finally, the Kauai chief said, "You know what? We'll just pretend to be. You could be the king. It's fine. Just stop killing all your guys coming here." Yeah.
So why did you start foiling?
It was COVID time, right? So right at the beginning, or even a little before COVID, I've been kite surfing. Kite foiling was a natural progression, right? Winds are terrible a lot of the time on Kauai and on Oahu.
When you say terrible, that's comparative.
No, it's pretty bad on the west side. If you go west side, there is no wind.
So the thing is, we are on an island, and as long as there's wind, it's going to be wrapping around
somewhere.
Some corner, somewhere. Same with swell. There's always going to be some little bit of a bump or a wave somewhere for the most part, but it is fickle. It shifts around the island, and you've got, land masses.
But you could also have days of no wind, lots of humidity,
rain, sure.
Sweating through your shirt.
So this is where versatility in your foil repertoire might come in handy.
Yeah, I thought it would just be another discipline. Kite foiling would be another discipline, and then basically I had to pick up surf foiling because there were a number of non-windy days, and you could pretty much always go surf foiling somewhere on the island at some part of the day. Right, and then wing foiling hit on strong, and I'm like, well, that's basically windsurfing. That's easy, and it was for me. It was relatively easy to start picking up wing foiling. Yeah. So, I mean, I learned windsurfing when I was 13, and since that time, all my jobs pretty much have been, how do I find a job at a windy place, or how do I make sure I'm close to the ocean? The Navy was the answer for me to stay close to the ocean, and hopefully be at a fairly nice base that was close to a windy spot. So that worked out for me, at least. And finally got moved out to here, out to Kauai, and moved to the west side, though. Mm-hmm. Moved way on the leeward side of the island where there was no wind as a kite surfer at that point. And I was just like, oh, what did I do?
Oh, man, I didn't think about it from that angle,
Yeah, I barely could windsurf, or barely could kite surf when I first moved here because there were very few days. You had to hike your way into to Mahalapu to kite surf basically, and they closed the gate at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, so you had to get out as well.
Yeah.
So
and then in COVID they closed down everything.
And they closed it down. You had to completely hike in, extra 15 minutes. But yeah, so those are the 3 things that I think we are looking for brands that we love. We want to try everything, no matter what. We want to try all the gear. I think there's at times I'm trying way too much gear because I can't switch. I don't know if you've done it too much
Still
lately.
Trying.
No, but I mean where you actually switch a completely different design of foil.
Oh, I thought you meant stance. No. Yeah. No, I change up my foils and stuff pretty regularly.
No, but I mean to try a completely different brand of foil.
Oh yeah.
Where, try a completely different shape of board, and like those first couple of runs, it's painful.
A little humbling.
Yeah, it's like you take 3 steps back in order to just try this, and then it's like, okay, I just got to switch this up.
I'm glad you brought that up because that comes down to tuning, and there's still a lot of people totally opposed to tuning their foils, but because we're all different, you jump on something different, it's going to ride different, and it's going to need a little bit of adjusting for whatever your style is, whatever the conditions are, whatever your body type is, all the things, how you're powered up. So every foil is going to perform different. And this is something that kind of turned me away in the early days, and I got into foiling because I had a neck issue, and I was a lifelong surfer since I could walk, and essentially had to stop, and was like almost like a 7-year gap where I didn't surf.
That long?
It was
Okay.
long. It was definitely over 5 years, and I went into a bit of a dark
There was
place.
a dark time.
It was a dark place, and I had to find alternative things like the gym, which I'm not a big fan of the gym.
Oh my God!
I like to supplement my exercise. My wife loves the gym, so I go to have time with her. So there was that. There was free diving because it was like extreme snorkeling for me at the time, but I loved being in the water. And scuba, actually, as a scuba instructor, even that was hard because my neck, essentially, if I was in a prone position, it would do a nerve impingement. Left side of my body would go numb. This was very problematic for surfing. I didn't like being in the water with a half numb body. Wasn't fun. So for years, I had no idea what I was going to do and just hoping this thing would go away and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, well, let's go into a little bit of that. So, we at first, I saw the kite foiling, did a couple of kite foiling, finally never got it, and did a little toe foiling, never got it, and then finally took a lesson, right, with the famous kiteboarding paradise.
Oh yeah, nice.
Felipe
I didn't know that.
on
Yeah,
Oahu.
right.
Yeah, and then finally clicked, right? Just enough time. It was a terrible foil as well, but yeah, and then still just slowly get it, or slowly work on it. Kite foiling was fine, but it never really dawned on me until we all, I just bought a boat. I'm like, it's my birthday, I'm going to buy a boat. I live in Hawaii, I'm going to buy a boat. And then we started going to the river, pulling each other. Everybody was pulling each other. Another guy bought a boat. Everybody was just getting the foiling down.
All right.
Right? And you were one of the people early on that came and...
Summer of 2021 it was for me.
Yeah. And I think you were able to... At first I was like unsure if you were like just kicking away. Just for...
I was probably terrified of the foil, like a lot of people are.
Or if you were playing to kick away to make it more dramatic of a fall, because it was that dramatic.
Too.
It was that.
My wife would.
Some of your falls were that dramatic. I thought. So I wasn't sure. Is he really falling?
I'm
or
glad
is he
I made
scared?
an impression on you, because look at where we are now. We're making podcasts. This is great. No, I think I was actually launching myself. It was a huge board, if I remember. It was a giant Jimmy Lewis board.
We used a huge
foil, and I remember this thing would come up, and it would just like lurk and lurch, and then
not just huge, but slow.
Slow.
It was a slow. It was like the Cadillac of. You turn the corner.
Like extended, like
you turn the steering wheel.
Cadillac.
You turn the steering wheel all the way over to the stops.
Takes 10 minutes.
3 seconds later, the nose starts coming around, and then a minute later, the tail goes around the turn. Yeah.
Needless to say, regardless of my background or anything like that, getting behind the boat and getting pulled is a really great way, and that's something we definitely.
But we haven't discussed that as much lately. I don't think it's even needed anymore for wing foiling.
Okay.
Do you?
I don't know.
So far we've been kind of focused on the wing handling and the standing skills for most people. It depends on the people's background, but I think you don't even need the foil lesson anymore. I think you can maybe pick it up later, or you could pick it up as you're winging.
Yeah.
I don't think you need, you just need a little bit of guidance of what you're trying to do now for the foil, but I don't think the toe foiling is necessary. Toe foiling is definitely necessary, or e-foil is definitely necessary for surf foiling. And sup foiling, I think it's very helpful too. Yeah. But I don't think it's necessary anymore for the wing foiling.
So there's a lot of aspects to this. There's prone or surf foiling. There's wing foiling. There's toe foiling. There's e-foiling.
We call it the disciplines now.
There's,
I think,
assisted foil. There's I don't know, pump foiling. I don't know. I probably missed
dock
a couple.
starts and pump foiling. Yeah.
So there's all these different ways.
There's still kite foiling, which is still the Olympic sport.
This, we have the foil. And that thing is basically like an airplane wing underneath the surfboard or a board of some sort, and you're flying on that. So people that come to us that have lots of board experiences, I'm a professional snowboarder, I've been surfing my whole life, or I should get this and nail it right away. Those are usually the ones that get humbled real fast, right? At least in my experience, it seems like those, because you're not balancing on the board anymore. You're balancing on the foil below you.
Right. They're expectations and experiences about 2 feet higher than it should be.
Yeah. And the first thing that happens is somebody with board experiences they get on there and they try to lean kind of rail to rail to turn, and that's when you get that taco effect.
Right.
And that's why I was launching myself as far away from the board as I could that first time.
Because you felt it immediately, like, whoa, I can't correct this.
Yeah, so the board goes this way and the foil goes this way, or sorry, the board goes that way and the body goes this way, and you just end up looking at the foil coming up at you. And this leads me to want to encourage you all to know that foiling is safe. In fact, statistically, it's probably safer than crossing the road. But it takes some logic, some thought, some safety, some learning how to fall.
I think foiling is actually safer than surfing in a crowded place.
There you go. Yeah.
I still get hit when I'm foiling because there's a lot of at my favorite break right now. Unfortunately, it's also a rocky break, but I get the foamer, brand new foamer surfers out there, and this break called shotguns, it actually jacks up, right? Because it goes over a very shallow spot, and it jacks up occasionally, and it's like a barrel wave, right? But just for a couple of seconds.
Yeah,
and if you're in the wrong place there, like some of the foamers, the board goes sideways, they can't see, or they're riding down the wave and they go right for you, right? Because I try to stay on the inside to catch it there, but it's in general, I have not been hurt as bad as I've been hurt kiting, or as dangerous a situation as I've been in kiting or windsurfing for that matter.
So 4 years of foiling essentially for you, right?
I think
Something
maybe
like that,
5,
maybe more, yeah.
Yeah.
And about 3 for me, with also subtract about 9 months or something for a knee injury and too much work. So, with that said, no injuries for the most part. Maybe a little nick or a little bump or something like that.
A few cuts.
Minor,
nothing serious.
We do know people that have actually been through some pretty significant stuff, and they're foiling again still. So there's precautions to take, but we want to let you know that it's not dangerous per se. Comparatively, surfing is just as dangerous. Bowling is dangerous. Everything's dangerous.
I think you could say wing foiling is actually safer than a lot of different sports. Way safer, because there's no impact really injuries. There's no really repetitive motion injuries. There's especially if you're staying out of the surf, right? If you're staying out of the waves, I think you could. Well, we know several people in their 70s that have learned foiling, learned winging, and are still going strong. They're out there and they're absolutely loving it.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I'm 45 currently, and some of the guys that basically taught me were well into their 60s, and even a guy that's in his 70s. So this is a versatile sport, and what we want to also do is find ways to make this more inclusive, because still it has been a privileged sport. The equipment is expensive, but as we mentioned before, the market's now kind of flooded, and most of the gear works. Some of it's definitely not as good as others, but that was a great time to get into it.
Yeah, especially if you're go with a mindset of, you know what, this is a gear just for now, and I'll buy a new set of something after I figure it out a little bit more. If you go with that mindset as I tell people, go with the mindset, you could buy a board, but start lining up your friends to sell that board to.
Sure.
Buy a big board. Go ahead. But be ready to dump it very quickly, because you progress extremely fast in wing foiling. I think surf foiling takes a little bit longer. I think you probably stay on the same equipment for a little longer, or you should stay on the equipment. And then sup foil, which neither of us are good at all, I think at this point. I think that probably takes even longer, unless you're coming from that sup background.
So that's good too. So I'm primarily a wing foiler. I've been dabbling a little bit in the prone foil, but I'm also still being careful with my neck. And I've done a little bit of toe, not a whole lot. What sects of foiling are you into?
Yeah, so I've been I did a little dabble of kite foil. It's not a good place on this island to kite. There's only a few spots really to launch.
Launching is hard.
Yeah.
Which is why the other parts of foiling are really good. Wing foiling is much more convenient for getting in and out of tricky locations.
Yeah, this is why almost every kite surfer on Kaua'i switched to wing foiling, is because there's just few spots to launch from, and the accessibility. It's opened up so many different beaches, and so I unfortunately, I prone foil more than I wing foil now, just because I go at the end of the day. Wing foiling, the wind, you really got to pick your times here. And I have been burned so many times by going late. I just got burned the other day by going too late. Big paddle in. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm just want to start dabbling into the downwind now. We got the boards for it. We got some extra the 5.0 pocket
wings,
pocket wings to try. There's exciting times in the downwind world, and of course we're a year or two behind for the downwind.
Yeah.
But I am excited to try a new discipline. I'm okay with being humbled again.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's going to be another very humbling experience, I'm sure, at the very outset.
So we really, I mean, not only did foiling change my life and really bring a lot of new joy and exploring and excitement and a new board sport essentially into my life.
Okay, but why? What does foiling do for you?
Opens up the whole ocean. So we were talking about surfing. I came from a surfing background. Surf spots, good surf spots, are a very limited commodity.
Right.
There's no more new surf spots.
They're crowded.
For the most part, the world's been explored. And unless you're spending thousands of dollars to go to crazy remote locations, now in Arctic places, because those are the only ones that aren't crowded anymore, like, where do you go to enjoy it? My wife is a very good surfer, and she basically stopped surfing because it's not fun anymore. It was crowded, people's attitudes, all the things. So now, why does that thing keep beeping? I don't know. It's
Maybe
okay.
It's going through a new file.
So now the whole ocean is open. So with wing foiling particularly, and with downwinding, those kinds of things, it opens up the whole.
I want to also talk about. I mean, for me, the foiling is my basic one and only recharging activity. Mm-hmm. My meditative sport of getting into that zone, and it's also my workout. Yeah. It's my one workout that I can carve out at several times a week, right? And my wife complains that I'm done afterward, right? I'm done after foiling, but I'm in a great place though. I'm hungry. I'm hungry, tired. I'm cranky if I don't get to go to sleep at a good time, but I sleep better. I feel better, and I wake up the next day refreshed and my head in a better space. So that's also one of those flip sides of foiling that I don't think anybody talks about enough.
So this is the philosophy.
Part of the foil the flow. That's why foil the flow is you got to get out there. You got to keep learning. You got to have I think it's important for people to have that mindset of always learning something.
And I did say ocean. It opens up the whole ocean, but it opens up any body of water that's bigger than your bathtub for the most part. I mean, there's people pump foiling in tiny swimming pools, you know. I keep saying pump foiling because that's that one niche where you can do it anywhere, even if your grandfather's got a 20-foot pond in the backyard, you know, you can do that. So this is what's unique. You can't surf everywhere in the world. You can foil in rivers, lakes, ponds, obviously the ocean. I don't know if they're trying it in space yet, but I don't know. Just trying to think of some random place that you can we send a foil to space.
How would that work?
I just derailed everything right then.
Edit time. Do we want to talk about some of the topics or talk about guests? So we talked a little bit about foil the fodder, or
foil fodder for the
people, and I'm going to work on saying that.
It's a good one to say. Also, it's fun to say. So everybody say it with me now. Foil fodder for the people. That's good.
Foil fodder for the people.
Yeah, and that's you. That's all of you sending us your stories.
Well, any of you. There might be two of you at this point.
Not all of you at once. That'll be overwhelming.
Both of you might be overwhelming.
So we do have general questions. Obviously, there's a couple of really great podcasts that we've been listening to that we've enjoyed. That some of them get really technical and really into the nitty gritty and all the things, all the variables. And I think that that's really important. We want to talk about some of that stuff too, but I feel like it might lose a lot of the people. So I come from a place where, and I'm teaching and stuff like that, where I love to pass these things on. And the couple of things that people always are like, I don't want to do it because it's expensive, or there's too
that
many.
foil's
it's too
coming towards my
confusing,
head. It's a knife.
or there's just too many variables. It's really that's really what it comes down to. Too expensive and too many variables, and it seems complicated. So we want to simplify all of that in some way in these talks. Make it fun, share the stories, and then dive into a little bit of like what works in certain situations, what doesn't work, at least for us, based on our experience and yours.
And along those lines is, how do we get some more kids out there, right? So far, the only people I know kids foiling there's a couple of kids that are just like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But they're very few.
And it's tricky because it's expensive.
Yeah.
So they're either having to go out and, I don't think kids mow lawns anymore, or deliver newspapers, or I don't think they actually.
They're using their influencer money to pay for foils, apparently.
Which is we're not
support that
clearly, but we do support that if it's going to get you where you need to go. Just don't get your expectations up. So yeah, we want to make it more inclusive. Not only kids, but more women. Things like that.
How to get more people into foiling, because honestly, foiling is going to save the world.
So we've done a few giveaways. Basically, when I've gone through stuff, if I've been blessed by somebody that's helped give me some tools and some things to work on or to grow with, and I use it and I outgrow it, if I can, I like to do a giveaway. I find somebody that like, hey, like this stuff worked for me to learn on. I'm not using it anymore. Try it out. And if they don't like it, they can give it back, or they can pass it on to somebody else. So we try to keep that flow going. And essentially what I've seen in a lot of the industry, going to trade shows and things like that, is many of these companies are focused on high performance products.
Right.
And they're kind of forgetting the baseline. We need to bring more people in and show them that this is attainable.
It's
an
easy sport to get into.
Yeah.
It's a little pricey, but not right now. It's not super pricey right now.
Way better.
Yeah.
For example, getting into it for me 3 years ago, I needed to spend a minimum of kind of like $3,000.
That's still about to get
if
really
you get all new stuff,
decent gear. Yeah.
Or maybe a season old stuff or something
Yeah.
like that. But for example, now you can go get all that same stuff that I was chasing after at that time for, like under $1,000. You can get a wing, a foil, a board.
Well, let's face it though.
It's not going to be great.
If you get
Might
hooked,
be beat up.
If you get hooked though, it doesn't matter how much you spend, right? You're going to spend all your disposable income towards getting,
which is one of the questions
an extra board,
we're going
an
to ask
extra
our
foil.
guests, right? So
Yeah.
does your wife or partner see your bank ledger, and how is that working out for you?
Yeah, has she seen your expenses on your foiling expenses? Do you hide new board purchases?
We'll
Have
start
you ever
a side
have you
like
ever hidden
psychology?
Have you ever hidden a board a foil purchase yet?
Better help for foilers.
Or have you like slow rolled the purchase?
I've been really good, actually. I'm diligent with trying to make sure that when I buy something new, I'm selling something old. At least
I'm finally at that stage. I'm
really,
finally
really
at that stage, but it's been a journey. Yeah, I still have way too much gear, way too much, and no room for it, and no money for more. I want to ask, what are you struggling with right now in the foiling world?
Struggling with.
What do you suck at?
Well, I suck at anything that's not wing foiling. So any of the other disciplines, I suck at.
No, you did not. No, you just tried prone foiling the other day, one time, and at the end you pumped your way in.
I was really, really excited about that. I almost said
That
frothing,
is-
but then I would have to. Yeah, we don't use that word here.
No, but most people, even good surfers, even great surfers, great pop-up, that's what I think people don't focus on, especially even in the wing foil. And I think you've seen it as well, as the people that get up like, wah! When their pop-up is like they kick out their leg when they pop up, or they bring their knee around when they pop up, and on the wing foiling as well. Those are the people that are going to struggle, right? Because you need to get down to that controlled mindset of smoothness.
It is very smooth, yeah.
And your a surf pop-up is explosive.
Yeah.
And it's out of control a lot of times. But you dialed it in. You had your pop-up after
thanks.
4 or 5 falls.
I think I had 10 attempts, and it was like 3 or 4 of them was up on foil. The last 2 I would count as actually.
It was
riding.
great. You don't see that. It helps that you are a very experienced foiler, a very experienced surfer. But one session, it is possible, folks, to get into foiling.
I'm dying to go again. I know I haven't showed that enthusiasm. I'll work on it. But the neck thing is still a little problematic for me. But that's why wing foiling again was my thing, because I was able to start in a vertical position.
We haven't really
big
discussed
board,
it.
You start on your knees, and I'm in a vertical position. This is why it's really good for people that might have, other kinds of flexibility
mobility issues.
Yeah, sure, mobility issues. We won't say anything about age or longevity, but mobility issues is a wide encompassing phrase. And yeah, I could start in a vertical position, get a little bit of wind going, stand up.
Yeah, you're standing
up,
most of the
and
time.
you're fully powered by nature.
Right.
So that's why I'm totally hooked on winging, but that's not what I suck at. What I do suck at is so when I go out for sessions, I definitely usually try to pick one thing to work on, one thing that I'm not quite good at. Like maybe I'm like 8 out of 10 on my heel side tacks, which is one of the harder tacks, and then you can throw in all your different variables of how you swing the wing and all this other stuff. So.
Right.
I'm still working on my heel side tack. I want that 100%, and I'm looking at other guys online, like a lot of you are, for those techniques and what to do. So, other things I suck at, staying motivated to work to pay for the things that I'm riding, because I just want to wing all day, every day.
I call it maxi min. I think my philosophy on this is maximize the money for the minimum amount of time that I have to invest in it, so that I can maximize my water time.
Oh, you could do a whole master course on
Yeah.
maximum.
I'm going to coin that phrase right now, maxi min. I don't know if it's out there already, but
sounds like a feminine product.
Yeah, it could also be that. Yeah. Maybe I'll rethink the name.
Well, okay, so what do you suck at?
Mostly I suck at carving out the time right now.
Well,
there's lots of
parenting,
lots of other things to do, lots of other obligations. We're both married. We have obligations.
Yeah.
And
bills.
Bills. Is that an obligation or is that a?
It is when it's taking away from the funds that I have for the toys that I want to play with.
Yeah. But But our lives are basically circled. Oh, we didn't discuss that, but our lives are basically circled around foiling, and we're throwing that other stuff of being a good husband, being a good father, a contributing citizen. Yeah, but basically, the other reason we did start the podcast or want to get out there is my wife's kind of tired of talking about foiling. I want to drive and talk about foiling. Even my son, he's a great foiler. Soccer is kind of a little above it right now, though, of his time commitment and his interest. But he's a great foiler already. He only wants to talk a little bit about foiling with me, even. My wife, done.
Yeah.
Absolutely done. She doesn't want to talk anything foiling. Yeah. And so car rides, not my favorite topics usually, right? I want to be, I think...
We have some of our best conversations while we're in the car and we're driving somewhere on the island.
I think what's happened is that, just our conversations of like, oh my God, did you see that? Oh my God, did you see that? Or, you know what I was trying the other day? Or or even, it's going off over there and I can't go. I'm so frustrated. Those conversations we're having in the car where we're both finding ourselves driving in opposite directions very slowly. And there's no chance of foiling.
Potentially a little selfish. We wanted somebody to bounce ideas off, tell stories, talk about this stuff, because the reality of it is that those that are in our lives that don't do these things, we're so excited, enthusiastic about it that we can talk about it too much, and so we needed an outlet. And I think that maybe a lot of you do too. So that's why we want you to send us your stories so we can talk about them, and we'll even get our guests to talk about them.
Interview.
Yeah.
Lots of interviews.
Yeah,
and that's what I was saying. This is kind of the roadside companion. We want to be roadside companions that are excited, frothing even about talking about foiling. That we absolutely love foiling. It's such a big part of our lives now, and I foresee it for 3 decades, 3 more decades.
It's got
maybe
some
more
evolution
of
to
foil.
go. I think not only
Yeah.
that, but it's like I'm pretty sure wing foiling is going to the Olympics, all this stuff, and there's so much room for growth and exploration with foiling.
Right.
And yeah, I am definitely trying to get my wife to go. I've been seeding the idea of taking a designated trip.
She's been tow foiling.
She has been behind the boat, yeah.
And wasn't turned off.
I know a lot of you out there have had to start alternative, social media accounts because even for me, I've spent, 27 years as a mural artist, and my social media feeds have revolved around arts and creativity for the most part. And then 3 years ago, all of a sudden, I started plugging in foiling stuff, and I definitely watched my following shift.
Oh, okay.
My numbers
Did the
dropped,
numbers-
and then
okay.
the foiling followers picked up. So there's been an evolution there. But I've seen a lot of you guys have had to start
How many
alternative accounts
artists-
because your original followers.
How many artists are in your still or that
I
are
don't
foiling?
know.
How many artists? There's only a handful of other artists.
I do have a
in your
great
account.
buddy that's a very good sign writer, muralist on Oahu that I've been able to connect with. Basically through foiling, so we were
Right.
both artists and both foilers, and that gave us a really cool connection point. Jeff Gress, yeah, buddy.
Because there's only a few former military, or whatever guys that I know of foiling. I mean, we had a little community on the base of kiters and everything else, but yeah, mostly it's the 40-year-old guy. And yes, we want more women, more kids out there foiling, but yeah, so far it's a very unique demographic. For some reason, a lot of helicopter pilots are foilers.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
A lot of pilots. I have a lot of airline pilots.
Well, maybe
as
that
well.
actually makes sense because of the engineering that goes behind creating a foils.
They
lot of
already
those guys
understand.
came from like model airplane builders and stuff like that, or aircraft
Or
engineers.
they understand the what the wing is doing, and what the stabilizer is doing. Yeah.
Fair enough. So essentially, we want to break down some stigmas. We don't take ourselves too seriously, and we definitely see a lot of people already taking all of this stuff a little too seriously.
That's a good point.
My theory is that the person in the water having the most fun is the most rippingest person
Okay.
in the water.
Do you want to discuss that right now?
I don't
Full
know.
drive. They're having a lot of fun though.
They are having fun.
I'm struggling.
Let's
I'm
call it
struggling
foil
with
assist right now, because there's a few systems out there that
Yes.
work similar like this, and some of them are more dialed in than others. Have had a little more time to develop, but I think that there's a lot of evolution still to come from that. It opens up a whole nother genre of
Let's
ability.
just say I am totally sick of seeing any e-foil ad among my feed. That actually upsets me because I don't think I could break it out. I don't think I could say don't do e-foil. Or maybe there's a way. If somebody knows a way to stop e-foil of the guy turning in slow motion on his e-foil as the most exciting thing ever in my feed,
Well,
if we could eliminate
context,
that.
though.
But
Because there's people out there that are never going to be extreme foilers, and the e-foil is going to be the one like most exciting. It's like a jet ski.
yeah,
Like jet skis, you get on a jet ski, you push a button, you go zoop zoop zoop. You can
It's for
go around
everybody.
in circles, and
That's foiling for the people right there.
so
yes.
it's got its place. It's got its place. But I think that what's more important, and this goes for many of the foiling genres, is that fact that it opens up the ocean or the river or whatever. So you don't need to be in that concentrated surf zone. That's better for surfing
And you
is established
better
as a
not
surf
be.
spot.
You better not be if you have a motor. You better not be in the surf zone.
Yeah.
That's one of those. That's pissing me off right now.
It's tough because it has such a it's such a tool, and it's so much fun. But if you're basically, I don't know what to say about that, because if you've got like 50 guys out on a peak that's a surf spot that's been established for 70 years as a surf spot, and then you're out there and you're not paddling, you're not working, you're just zzz, and then catching a wave, zzz, and catching a wave. Even the surfers that are out there that are paddling and working hard, they have a rotation system, and they get cranky at each other if somebody's ruling
Snaking.
the peak.
No snaking
So
allowed.
there's got to be some ethics and some morals that are applied to all of
Plus,
these things.
I feel it degrades your skills, right? At this point, I think the assist motors are actually not allowing people to progress their skills. That, you know, at some point it helps.
Yeah.
I think probably in the downwind arena and maybe the surf foiling arena, it helps to
As
get
an
out.
assistant.
Yeah, to get out there.
Yeah.
But I don't think, from what I've seen, the guys aren't pumping. They're not working on their pumping as much.
I've actually seen some guys that I thought were incredibly good at doing what, you know, the chip in, double dip, whatever, where you prone paddle into a wave, you catch that little bit of foam, then you pump back out and you catch a couple of waves. Now a lot of those guys, they're getting into these foil assist driven motors, and they're kind of losing some of those skills.
I think it's kind of like, you know, you're on a jet ski. You get tired being on a jet ski just from... I kind of think it's the same. Is that a workout? Because one of the main reason I go in the ocean is for a workout. I wanna get tired, and I wanna enjoy it getting tired. That's why I don't go to the gym either. Yeah. I could get sweaty in the house.
Yeah, just moving things around
in the sauna. That's not fun either.
Fair enough.
So I think that it's got a place and it's got a learning tool. Yeah, I struggle even saying it's a discipline now, but it is a discipline. The assisted motors for foiling is now a discipline, and we can't be brand specific. But
right
one is ruling.
We will talk about
one
brands.
Is ruling. Yeah. But it's got a place, and just as we saw at the latest trade show, AWSI in Hood River, the wind died completely. So if you look at all the media coming out of that one, a lot of wake foiling.
Yeah, pump foiling.
A lot of pump foiling, a lot of dock starts.
Yeah.
Not our favorite stuff
Flat
at
water
this point.
paddle ups.
Yeah, or sinker board.
Paddle ups.
Way too much time on your hands.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do. Foil driving, that's not what I want to do now.
So I still have a bit of a purist stance there. And when I say that, I almost have to swallow my words, because we actually also behind the scenes talk a lot about sup foiling and how elitist in
the downwind crowd
in aspects that has become, because it is a hard discipline. It's also a dangerous, not dangerous, but it's a more consequential genre for foiling, because it's a one-way ticket. And not only that, if you're in a group of people and somebody goes down, you can't really circle back and help anybody. Whereas you can do that with wing foiling.
There's a few
or
people that can circle back.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
There are like 5 in the world.
Yeah, so for me, safety is a huge thing in the ocean. I've dealt with trauma in the ocean, lost friends in the ocean. So for me, wing foiling has been the be all, because I can go anywhere I want. I can go upwind. I can circle back. I can go upwind to downwind. I can ride in the surf.
Well, you're one of the few people I know that is always with the phone.
So I keep devices with me. I keep a whistle. I keep a little knife for fishing lines, stuff like that. You never know, really. It depends on where you're at. If you're in Hood River, there's salmon nets. If you're out here, you got sometimes trolling lines that are strewn across a reef.
We just had that.
Or
we had an anchor line or some other line that we both ran into the other day.
So that just brings me back to, like, there's definitely all these different genres of foiling now, and each one is kind of almost creating their own cliques around it, and some elitism. And I still feel like that. I'm a little bit of a purist, that I don't want to do the foil assist thing because I like using natural elements. It's why I'm out in the ocean. I want to use wind and surf power.
Exactly.
And my own strength and my 2 horsepower.
That's why I find wing foiling particularly the most recharging, meditative sport for me. Is I could be going downwind or even going upwind with no noise. Yeah. Right? It's quiet. You're going the exact same speed as the wave. The waves are not breaking. The foil's making almost no more noise. The wing is making almost no noise. And that is like the most pure experience I've had in forever, right? I call it the harnessing the natural elements. Yeah. You're not fighting the elements. You're working with the elements back to the foil of flow. Yeah. And that I can never say that anything else has recharged me like those kind of experiences.
It can be as relaxing as you want it, or as extreme as you
Yeah,
want it.
or I could start working on the waves, working on the little bumps, and looking
stand
on the
really
swell.
powered up all the time, or you can fly the thing with 2 fingers.
Yeah,
a little harness. Yeah. So it's versatile, and that's it. We want to share all of that. This is a fun thing. We're passionate about it. It's exciting. There's a lot of room for growth. We're learning
a lot of room for talk.
So we want to hear some stories. Send them in, and let's just see what happens here. Let's have some fun with it. I don't know if we got much else. We can chip away at some of these other things, but we're happy to share these stories, and let's just I don't know, let's all just get along.
You can't end on that. Who said that? Let's all get along.
I don't know. Won't you be my neighbor? Some of the things that we're going to go through in the questions that we've got.
Hey, who do you want to see?
Yeah, let us know who you want us to interview. We've got great connections.
We have, as a shop and a school, have a lot of connections in the industry already. Mm-hmm. Some amazing foilers out there. Your surfing background, you know a few guys that have transitioned over.
Yeah, they've transitioned. Yeah. Some of them still dabble back into the old ways. But
they identify as foilers, let's just say. Now, they used to identify as a surfer, or they used to identify as something else, but now they identify as foilers. I think that's a safe way to say it, right?
Yeah. Other things we want to talk about is routine. Like, what's your pre-foiling routine, post-foiling routine?
Not too much, though. It's mostly about 90% foiling.
Yeah.
But yes, I want to know.
Not the toppings on your pizza.
He doesn't have coffee. I don't understand that.
I'm a tea snob. That's my thing.
I need to learn about this because I am over-sugared and over-caffeinated too much of the day.
That's why we're going to have to do all of this over again, because this morning I ran out of my really special Irish breakfast tea. So I zipped over to Big Save this morning, and they're having technical difficulties. This only happens on Kaua'i. The grocery store is closed. It's Saturday, and I had to drink some of my wife's matcha tea, which is very sacred. I had to do it in secret because she weighs that stuff. She knows exactly how much is left.
Like at the end of the night,
I'm feeling off my
end of the night. She's like a bartender measuring each how much is left of each.
She is
of
a
the matcha
bartender.
tea. I want to talk. Throw out one thing. There is, I keep getting calls. People want to come. Hey, do you rent boards? Hey, what's the conditions like? There's a couple of different discussion topics there, but one thing is the tire kickers, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're selling stuff. I'm selling stuff. We got a lot of great used gear. I got some new gear. I'm a dealer for a few different brands.
Quite a variety of things too.
Yeah,
and
awesome
full spectrum of
and
expense.
That's what we talked about. Is we try to ride everything. We personally buy for ourselves and ride what we love, and then we support and
push what we believe in.
Yeah, sell whatever we believe in as an awesome set of gear.
Yeah, that is totally our philosophy. Yeah, as far as Paka'a foil goes, we get everything that we can, try everything we can, buy what we love and ride what we love, and then encourage you to buy what we believe in.
And along those lines is the and I go, and we talked a little bit about it, but the capabilities, right? Is certain everything, a foil, a board, and a wing has certain features, certain capabilities, certain parts to it that we love. Like, for instance, the board. It's got to be a tough box. The foil box has to be 100% non-break. Break.
Yeah.
If a board breaks on the foil box for me, I'm not in love with that brand anymore.
Granted, sometimes they go through like a manufacturing issue.
That's true. That's true.
We're not totally cutthroat like that. We'll give them a chance to work out their kinks. But again, that goes back to our kind of 3 priorities: is that integrity. If they're willing to communicate,
transparent about it,
to help us figure it out.
Then, hey, we figured out this, and it was this, and we fixed it, guaranteed. I'll trust. I'll try that guarantee.
That's an interesting thing, because now that this industry is growing, there are brands that are getting big.
Right.
And essentially,
consolidation of all these big guys.
It's already starting to be acquisitions, and this happened in surfing. This happened in windsurfing and things like that. And they get so big that there's inevitably going to be manufacturing difficulties.
And they lose touch with the people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just such a big brand telling you what is the latest and greatest and what you want.
Yeah. So I definitely lean towards the smaller guys. I always kind of have been like root for the underdog sort of person, but I also like the personal touch that's there, something that's handmade, or the guy that made your equipment, and
right.
maybe it's not all coming from a factory somewhere.
And so far, that equipment has been awesome. It's the smaller boutiques that we have been working with, the small brands, they have been some of the best gear that we've tried, I think.
Not only that, we really want to love on them because of that acquisition that's happening. I want to see that.
They don't want to become corporate entities,
yeah.
Right? And their philosophy is 100% out of corporate entities. They do things right. They are taking care of the ocean. They're taking care of reducing waste.
Creating programs around like trade-in.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
Yeah.
And hopefully more brands can work on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, some of the capabilities like a foil, I don't know. We haven't talked in a while about it, but I am 100% M8 Torx.
Yeah.
It has to be M8 Torx for your primary parts, and it has to be preferably titanium, just so it won't. So a lot of people don't know that stainless steel, it actually does rust.
Yeah, totally.
It rusts much faster.
And then it depends on what you're
titanium.
connecting it to.
Yeah,
too.
and
so
depends
you've got
on
mixed metals. That creates.
It depends on what
corrosion as well.
you're taking care of it too. Yeah, and how much you're taking care of it. So I love that. And then wings. You're kind of a hard handle guy.
I love the hard handles for sure.
But
I've
you're
gone
riding,
back to soft handles.
You're riding
based
soft
on
handles.
a brand that I really like working with.
And it's lighter.
It's so much lighter. It's consistent. It's stiff. It's all the things that I'm looking for.
I like a small diameter now of the leading edge. That makes a lot of sense now going upwind. But the number one thing is, how long does it last?
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Can it take a beating?
Can we, as I tell people, as I've ridden on top of this on a wave, so I know it's a pretty good. It's held my weight in lots of white water.
Yeah.
It lasts. I can tell it's pretty good. And then foils we talked about before. Some people call it the seagull shape. Some people call it the mustache shape, upturn with the little curl up at the end there.
Yeah.
Seems to be the way to go right now. The different sections a little flat at the in the middle, a little anhedral, and then to a little outward tip. That seems to be the shape that gets the most glide.
Gets really forgiving too, as far as
it still has a low
like
end.
If you breach the tips on these like more curved foils, they definitely seem to be a little more forgiving.
And still has a very good low end. So that's what I think in winging, especially. The low end isn't as important once you get to a certain level.
Unless you're trying to wing all the time
downwind
and like no wind and all that
or
stuff.
Downwind,
too,
yeah. But the top end, we haven't seen a lot of foils that get a good low end and a good top end.
It's accurate, yeah.
Now we're starting to see them.
Yeah.
Though it's exciting times.
Yeah, it used to be you'd have to have kind of 3 different foils, for downwind or for carving or whatever. Now they're kind of starting to bridge those gaps and be a little bit more versatile. Yeah.
So the one other thing, other than being pissed off about anybody that's going through the lineup on a assist on a motor pod, the other thing I want to throw out there was we'll just say it, Armstrong riders. Why do they always have to tell me that they ride Armstrong? They try to work that in their conversation almost immediately. Is that like a Tesla thing or a Rolex thing? Hey, did you see I got a new watch.
Yeah.
Oh, let me check the time.
Yeah,
is that
I don't know, but I can't help
that?
but think about that scene from Along Came Polly, the guy in the Speedo, where he's like, you can be a hippo and you can put these stripes on, but you are still a hippopotamus.
Right. I just had that again. It keeps on coming up. So what would you ride in this conditions? I asked somebody. Right. And he's like, well, I ride an Armstrong. So it'd have to be this. Is that the? Have you seen other brands that are like that?
I don't
that
know. There's
get that
definitely
kind of following.
We get to be prideful in what we ride, and I love what I ride, but I'm gonna go and show people that why I like to ride it, not be like I love to ride it. This is the best. Look at me.
But that's back to the. I love it because I love it because oh my god, I love the KT boards. They're light and a bomb-proof box, right? I love the Onyx foils.
Yeah.
Right now, it's one of the fastest foils I've tried. It's got an incredible low end. It's got M8. That's why I love it. Okay. It's got an adjustable, really easily adjustable tail. So let's get. That's what part of this I think as well is getting into that. What's working and what's not, and details. Some of the details, some of the specifics of what
is specifically weird. I've definitely seen podcasts and heard plenty of discussions about it doesn't matter. These M6s are rated.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
And it's crazy to me
because
that's
stupid.
You can say whatever you want about the specs, but
yes,
in the field, everybody I know that's on M6, they're bending or breaking the bolts.
Right.
In the critical connection points.
Right.
Not obviously you got to have.
And yes, I see that as well. That just drives me insane. That oh my god, no,
it's rated
for
this
M6
much power.
Can do 10,000 pounds, and that's more than enough. Okay, but
they're still
I stripped it.
Yeah, they're still bending, breaking, stripping.
I got to get a new one because I stripped it. It got corroded, or not using the Torx head. Oh my god, I have stripped every single other head. Phillips head and the Hex. The Hex is the absolute worst. I cannot believe any manufacturer out there. Please change your hardware. Please.
Yeah, we've kind of stepped into.
Why are you staying that way?
This is almost like cell phone and technology territory where nothing's compatible. That's again why I like some of these other brands. They're making their stuff compatible.
It's universal.
With other things.
Now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a really nice feature. The thing that I like the least about foil industry is the non-compatibility, the elitism, and then the non-sustainability.
M7.
And so you got a product that you'll be lucky to get it to last a year. That's not cool. I just spent however many thousands of dollars on this thing, and things are breaking, falling apart, or I can't even repair it because it's that crap or whatever, and it's made out of stuff that I can't reuse. When I first started getting into foil, the first board that I bought brand new cracked and had all these manufacturing issues, and I called the company and they're like, okay, we'll send you another one. You need to chop that one up and throw it away. I live on Kaua'i. I have a mountainous garbage issue here that's not going anywhere.
The hill in Paka'a is not a hill.
I'm not going to chop up a non-biodegradable chunk of garbage and throw it into a landfill that we have an issue. So those things are really important to us, at least to me. That's my least favorite thing about foiling is the materials and the not longevity.
It's got to last.
Yeah, this stuff's got to last. It's got to be tough.
We can only put so many foils up on our walls before we have no more room.
I got a bit of a trophy room going on here for sure. Anyway, are you foiling today? Saturday. Oh, you got soccer.
Family commitments.
Soccer. Yeah. These things are important.
We might be going to get a dog today, or at least visit the dogs. I'm pushing for.
Oh no.
I'm pushing for that we at least just take the dog on a trip with us before go do an adventure at
Can't
the beach.
Can't you do the what do you call it?
Babysit them.
Yeah.
Or dog sit them.
Yeah. You just check them out for a little.
Yeah, check them out. Exactly.
And then you put the vest on it so that somebody else adopts it. They have an adopt me vest.
Right. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way. That's good.
You got to make sure that.
Are you foiling today?
I'm probably not foiling today.
It's looking good though out there. The wind is there.
So actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I had a friend that was really pushing me the other day to get a foil assist because we had a string of days that were pretty much glassy and no wind, but there was still waves. And I was like, you know what? I'm glad you guys are having fun, but this is the day that I get to go do some work or spend some time with my partner or clean the house or mow the lawn, because otherwise I won't do any of those things. I know I'm still working on my income so that I can just pay somebody to do all that stuff.
I have a list that I have promised to do. It hasn't. I haven't attacked that list as much as I should. So yes, it is nice to have a day of where you just have to say, nope, not today.
But I still want to foil every day.
Yeah.
But discernment's important. Family and other commitments are important.
Very true.
All right, with that, we should probably go. The cameras are going to run out of juice here anyway. We've already lost one or two. One.
Call us. Reach out. Let's get some stories out there. Foil fodder for the people. We want to hear what you love about foiling. We want to hear what you are struggling with.
If you're one of those young millennial peoples and you don't know how to talk to people on the phone, then just make a voice memo and send that to us as a DM. That works too. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for if more than 3 of you tune in for Foil the Flow Radio, we appreciate it. We're gonna get lots of
fast.
Foil the Flow Radio.
Foil fodder for the people.
Let's do it.
All right. Woo.